So Dad. Hello, good people. You notice my extremely talented graphic artist did this for me. This is Phil Chenevert with another episode of Why Do We Say That? Episode 9 to be exact. Yeah, I'm getting better. When I get over 10, I'm afraid we're going to use some other method. Now, today we're going to discuss the word to read someone the Riot Act. And we're going to discuss the word Juggernaut, that huge inexorable force. Why do we say these? So let's start with to read the Riot Act. I'm going to use my glasses. Now, if someone reads you the Riot Act, we usually think of a boss yelling at an employee, or poor Beetle Bailey getting yelled at by Sarge in the comic strip, you know. Of course, he's getting yelled at because he's gold bricking, which is a word we're going to cover in the next episode. But anyway, so to read someone the Riot Act means to bawl them out. It means a reprimand, a severe reprimand. Now, this idiom originated in 1714, which is, what, 400 years ago, when a riot act, a real riot act, was enacted by an English king, George I. He was a very unpopular, domineering German who despised the English language and even refused to learn it. Well, the people didn't like this, and they didn't like him. So they would gather together and murmur and grumble, and finally they started acting out, yelling and screaming, and some of them even burned him in effigy. Well, he didn't like that, so he enacted this thing called a Riot Act. And it was said that if this was read out loud to any group of 12 or more, and they didn't disperse immediately, they would and could be arrested and jailed for 3 years, and in some cases killed. Well, let me tell you that the effect of this act was very powerful, and it did cause people to disperse. But it's so strong that from that, over the hundreds of years, we've kept this phrase to read someone the Riot Act. And it's really a strong one. That's why we say that. Now, the word Juggernaut. Juggernaut. When I was a young lad, an innocent young lad, I spent many, many happy hours reading these what do they call them, juvenile books, novels, about young heroes who would regularly save the world with their daring do. And from the brink of disaster, they would do something, and do that. I enjoyed reading about that, and of course imagining that I was the one saving the world. And one word that the authors seemed to love was this word Juggernaut. For example, the evil war machine of Dr. Zukos rolled through the village like a juggernaut, crushing the innocent peasants under its wheels. Could Jimmy decipher the code in time? Was Stephanie doomed? Could the dog Zippy escape and free the world? I don't know, something like that. Well, anyway, I got the idea that Juggernaut was an inexorable force, something that once started couldn't be stopped. And the word comes to us from India, where the, excuse my pronunciation, Sanskrit Jagannatha, meaning Lord of the World, was a large wooden statue of Vishnu, and it was kept in a temple at Puri. Now, each year in June and July, everybody in the village or the town would put this big, huge statue onto a cart and roll it through town to the god's summer home. Of course, this meant a huge amount of people pushing and tugging and pulling on ropes, trying to roll the wheels, and some of them probably slipped underneath it. Well, the European visitors in the 14th century thought that the people were throwing themselves under the wheels in a frenzy of devotion. They assumed, therefore, that their deaths were sanctioned by the Hindu faith, and so thought that Juggernaut was a cruel, inexorable god that loved human sacrifice, and came back to Europe. When they came back to Europe, they used the word Juggernaut as a metaphor for a destructive force that people follow blindly. Well, of course, we now know that the deliberate sacrificing of blood in the name of Vishnu is viewed by Hindus as a sacrilege, and never an accepted part of the cult. the deaths must have been from people just slipping underneath the wheels. And now you know more about why we say those words. Aren't you excited? You're not? Well, poop. This has been Phil Chenevert with episode 9 of Why Do We Say That? I'm going to have many more, hopefully, and please send me your comment and say you'd like me to look up this word or that phrase. Correct me if I'm wrong, which I probably will be. And that's it. Hope you all enjoyed it, and keep on watching. This has been Phil, and I'm over and I'm out.